Welcome to Just Not Cricket, a football podcast. It is hosted by Hal Stewart. This be my voice. And actually, this isn't even Adam's voice this week. What's going on?
What do you mean?
You don't sound like yourself.
I don't know how to respond to that. I'm definitely still me.
Sound sexier.
Well, you know, I've always been a little bit sexy.
So you've been ill, right?
I wouldn't say ill. I mean,
Sick.
I am a tougher fellow than you might be. I know.
Maybe.
If you had had what I had had, you would have been off for 3 weeks.
Is it that bad?
No.
What have you had?
Just a bit of a cough. You know, that kind of... It's that kind of year.
Do you know who
It's
gave
that
it to
time
you?
of year,
Do you
I should
remember
say.
the moment sitting next to the sick and catching it?
Well, I have people that I'm blaming.
Oh, good. You should always blame.
I've narrowed it down to a couple of people. It's a couple of people in the office with kids.
Oh, it's always
Because, you know,
human
kids,
petri dishes, aren't they?
They
Children.
are germ factories. So
they
I'm
really
choosing to blame one or both of those people.
I think I know exactly who you mean. And are you blaming their children specifically?
Well, actually, I'm more blaming them because without them, there would be no children. So really, the responsibility does lie with them.
And thank you for explaining to me last week how that all works. I thought your diagrams were excellent.
It's a long time since I've had to use those diagrams, but I was happy to help. The mysterious player of mystery.
If you've listened to this podcast before, I normally sit back at this juncture and let Adam take it away. It's one of the few areas where he's been able to do some prior work. And this time, we've actually switched it around, where I'm going to test you, Adam, and also you, dear listener, and at the end of the podcast, you can try and work out if you were correct on this. So Mysterious Player of Mystery works like this. I'm going to just read out the clubs that this mystery player played for. Can you identify who they were? If you need a clue, then I will give the position, but therefore you don't get as many points. So if, Adam, you get this correct at the end, you get 3 points. If you need the clue of the position and you get it right, you get 1 point. And obviously if you don't get it right, you get 0. So far, I have 1 point.
Yes, this is the second round of fixtures in this, and you currently have 1 point after getting Christian Panucci.
Who had a very
last
interesting story as well that you shared about his near-death experience.
Yes, his luggage was delayed at an airport. He did not get on the flight he was scheduled to be on, and that flight crashed. He cheated death.
Like that film.
Driving Miss Daisy.
That's the one that we're thinking of. All right, here's our mysterious player of mystery. He played for Nantes in France, Sampdoria in Italy, Real Madrid, Middlesbrough, Olympiacos, Servette, Switzerland, and Bastia, France.
Well, unfortunately, I am drugged up to the eyeballs, so the brain is not quite spinning in a way that it would normally. I can't remember the name of any footballers.
Yeah, that happens.
Ever.
You know, I found out a new word. Do you know what misandrist means?
Misandrist?
Yeah.
I don't.
It's a person who hates men.
Oh, I see.
So we often use the other. Is it misogynist?
Yes.
We use that one quite a lot.
Do we?
Well, you know the word.
I don't use it that much.
You know the word,
in
though.
just general conversation, it doesn't come up a huge amount.
Yeah, but misandrist.
But
is,
we
when
move
a
in
person
different
hates
circles,
We
I
do.
suppose.
So I'm going to start using misandrist a lot more, particularly, Adam, in your company. Time now for stats and stuff. Adam, you've been looking at National League side Chesterfield.
Chesterfield are currently on quite a bad run. They're also on quite a good run.
I think I know where this is going.
Well, how about you just let me deliver it?
Oh, hello. You sound fine.
Such was the fury of you stealing my thunder. The bile just erupted from my throat. Chesterfield are currently suffering both the worst run in their history and their best run in the last 12 years. They have gone 19 league games without a win, despite being unbeaten in all competitions in their last 12 matches. Their last 12 matches includes 9 draws in a row in the National League, and they've also got a couple of FA Cup wins in that run. But also the worst winless run in their history. I don't know if you're familiar with the Football Manager game.
You do know I'm familiar with the Football Manager game.
I do, yes.
Very much so.
And often you get little news items if you're going on a bad run, telling you that you're on a really bad run, because, just to really hammer it in. And also, it tells you if you're on a good run. And I've been on runs like this, and it's a very fine line between the good and the bad.
Yeah.
Those 3 draws. You know, unbeaten. Then you lose a game. Winless in 4. It's a very cruel game, this. And yeah, as Martin Allen and Chesterfield are finding to their cost. And also, I should point out that
Mad Dog, is that Martin Allen?
It was, yes.
Yeah.
Barnet manager 18 times, I think, currently. That stat, I have to say, was true as of recording.
They'll be drawing as we speak. Now, did you know that Huddersfield manager David Wagner was capped by the US of A?
I think I did know that.
8 times.
He's in a similar vein to that other guy, I can't remember.
Really affecting you. What are you taking?
Jermaine Jones.
Yes,
He
absolutely.
was German-born and a United States international, I believe.
Yeah, David Wagner, of course, grew up in Germany, but yeah, found out he was eligible for the United States. And yeah,
This is all linked to military personnel stationed in Germany.
Yeah, absolutely. And it happens,
American military personnel.
happens quite a bit.
Similarly, Owen Hargreaves of the England national team was also eligible for Germany.
And Canada.
And Canada, for similar reasons.
Now, Peter Schmeichel was the first goalkeeper to score in the Premier League.
Yes.
It was on the 20th of October, 2001.
Yes.
Schmeichel became the first goalkeeper to score a Premier League goal. It was a result against Everton, but
Yeah.
can you remember, he was playing for Manchester United,
Yeah.
what that result was?
A win.
It wasn't.
Defeat.
It was.
Yes,
a
I got it.
3-2
That
defeat.
counts. You
You
heard
knew
it.
He said it.
You heard it.
Do you know which club is nearest to the River Mersey?
Tranmere.
It's a good shout, and I see what you've done there in Birkenhead. It's actually Stockport County.
Oh, do you know? I knew.
There's
I
a little
knew
stream that
from
runs
that
behind.
little twinkle in your eye
Yeah, that's
that you wanted me to say either Liverpool or Everton.
It's the Stockport Twinkle. Which 2 South American nations have never won the Copa America?
I certainly know one of them. One of them is Venezuela, who have never won the Copa America. I think they're the only South American team not to have qualified for the World Cup as well. The other team not to have won the Copa America, Bolivia are the next Minnow in South America, but I believe they did win it once when they hosted it, because they hosted it about 80,000 feet above sea level, so they had a bit of an advantage.
It'd be also a massive advantage the other way around.
Actually, under the sea.
80,000 feet below sea level. If you acclimatise to that, and then you invite the Brazilian national team, I think there's only going to be one
When you
winner.
say acclimatised, do you mean evolve gills?
Yes.
I am going to guess the other nation not to have won the Copa America is Ecuador.
You are correct, sir. Bang on. Ecuador and Venezuela. Very good. Which club has provided the most players at a FIFA World Cup Finals tournament from 1930 to 2018?
This is a tough question.
You've got to think of nations that have qualified, I guess, a lot.
I mean, this is just a real stab in the dark, so I'm just going to pluck from the air
You're not getting at this.
AC Milan.
Wow. They are in the top 10. And Italy is the correct country. Juventus.
Oh, that was pretty... For a shot in the
Yeah,
dark,
that's very good.
that did not fall that short of
Well,
the target.
let's see how well you do with this. How many players are we talking? Juventus of Italy have provided how many players at World Cup finals from 1930 to 2018?
112.
It's 128.
Oh, see, that wasn't bad either.
Then Barcelona with 126. Inter with 122. Real Madrid with 117. Bayern Munich with 106. Manchester United, 99. And your guess of AC Milan, 98.
You see, I did that classic thing where you think they're really obvious answers and then you talk yourself out of them.
You nearly
like
did that.
Barcelona, Bayern Munich, the big teams in big countries. And I thought, no, that's too obvious. It's going to be something tricky, sneaky.
Well, there's a player in Namibia. This is our final stats and stuff for today. And his name is Manchester United MacGyver. Now, if I did that on a fake footballer fact, you'd be like, that's just stupid. Stop right there. His real name is Manchester United, surname MacGyver, and he plays for Unam FC. He's actually on Football Manager. You can buy him. Football Manager 19. He's a central midfielder.
I would be more excited to be named after MacGyver than Man United. I loved MacGyver.
I never watched MacGyver.
Although, of course, it has been remade recently.
Is it any good?
Hashtag, not my MacGyver.
Adam,
Nope.
you're in this room.
Unacceptable.
Right, this room, right, we're in right now. Let's say I've sealed it with the implements that you've got. So,
Yes.
hard drugs for pain relief.
Yes.
A bottle of water.
Yes.
Your glasses.
Got a pen.
A pen.
I did bring a pen in.
Okay, so how can you get out of this room?
The door.
Fair enough.
Do you know where we're going today?
Australia.
The other side of the world.
Yeah, you told me earlier.
I did, yeah. It's Perth, and I didn't want you to confuse it with Perth in Scotland.
I have been to both of those places.
Have you? Have you been to the home of Perth Glory,
No.
which is our Wikipedia club of the day?
No, but I know a few things about them, but I'll save it to the end.
Or just don't offer them up.
Okay, I'll
just,
keep
just,
quiet, you
Just
know,
shut
'cause-
up and let me do my thing.
15 episodes for you to finally say, just shut up.
Perth Glory. They play in purple and they play in the Australian A-League.
Okay, fair enough. I see what you've done
Well,
there.
you said it was too long
okay,
last
I see
time.
what so you've made it a little bit shorter.
I've cut down.
Cut down a few of the key details. Okay, I respect that.
Founded in 1995, Perth Glory is one of only 3 clubs in Australia that competed in both the old league, which was the National Soccer League, and the current A-League. And they won the final 2 National Soccer League titles. The 05-06 season was the very first in the new A-League, and since debuting then, Perth Glory have won. How many things do you think they've won?
6.
They won nothing. Nothing at all. They are serial runners-up.
Oh.
They have been A-League runners-up once in 2012. They were FFA Cup runners-up in 2014 and 15. And they were pre-season Challenge Cup, which sounds like a really fun competition.
Yeah, that's the point of that.
They were runners-up there in 2005 and 2007. They play their home games at the NIB Stadium in Perth, a capacity of, want to have a guess?
10,000.
20,500. Although it has a record attendance of 32,000. And that was in 2015 for an Ed Sheeran concert.
Oh, it's always for a concert, except when it's not.
Past players. They've had a few past players that you may recognise, including an English striker that I believe you're familiar with. That's right, Robbie Fowler.
Oh, yeah.
Ex-Leeds and Walsall defender Danny Hay, former Man City defender Simon Colissimo, former West Ham and Birmingham winger Stan Lazaridis, and also Brian Dean. Do you know how well Brian Dean did?
I think he did pretty well out there.
This was their very first season in the A-League. He was signed by Steve McMahon, the former Blackpool boss. He played 7 times.
I'm going to say he scored 3 goals.
He scored 1 goal.
I bet it was a belter.
And that was the end of his A-League career. Their current crop of stars includes the former Sporting Gijón and Getafe winger Diego Castro, who, despite getting on a little bit, in his 75 appearances has currently scored 33 goals.
Very good.
And he is ably supported by a name I think you'll probably remember, Andy Keogh.
Formed a formidable partnership with Billy Sharp during his time at Scunthorpe.
He did. 67 appearances at the moment. This is his second spell. 28 goals for Andy Keogh. You will probably recognise some members of their technical staff too. Their current head of football operations, which is a title I don't really know what it means, to be honest.
Does.
But it's Jacob Burns, formerly of Leeds and Barnsley.
He was a bit of a super sub for Leeds.
I believe he was. Head coach, Tony Popovich. 2 assistant coaches as well, Richard Garcia, formerly of West Ham, Colchester and Hull, and Hayden Fox, formerly of West Ham, Portsmouth and Leeds, and goalkeeping coach Danny Milosevic, who was briefly on the books of Leeds, Plymouth, Crewe and Celtic. Perth Glory's rivals are, as is generally typical, based on geography. I don't know if you can picture the geography of Australia.
Very
it's a
easily.
very big country, and Perth is pretty much on its own on the western side of that country. As such, there is a fair amount of enmity directed at the east side of the country because the people of Perth often feel a bit left out, which seems to be focused mainly on the city of Melbourne, and games between Perth Glory and Melbourne Victory can be feisty affairs and consistently rank among the A-League's highest attendances. They also have a rather nice rivalry with Wellington Phoenix, who are the only club in the A-League based in New Zealand. And this is due to the distance between the two clubs, which is more than 3,000 miles separating Perth and Wellington. It is actually currently the longest distance, the longest away fixture for any club in any top division. The previous best was when Luch Energy of Vladivostok played in the Russian Premier League. From Vladivostok to St. Petersburg, which would have been the furthest west of the Russian clubs. I think that's a trip of about 3 or 4 days on a train. Russian fans quite glad when Vladivostok got relegated.
Yeah.
But Perth and Wellington, they play each other generally in the domestic season 2 or 3 times, and the aggregate winner of the side's fixtures win the annual long-distance Derby Cup, which is quite nice, I think.
Yeah.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, is Perth Glory. Also, key fact, they play in purple.
Famously, so many great teams have played in purple. I think if we both say after 3, the team that we're thinking of, I know we're going to say the same team, and a 1, and a 2, and a 3.
Toulouse.
No. I was going to say Harchester United. Fake footballer facts now. You ready for this?
Oh, well, that's quite a nice segue from Harchester United.
Yeah.
I hated that show.
Dream team.
Loathed it.
First couple of seasons were really
awful.
good. There was a really good moment, and the youth manager always used to say before every game, right, lads, play the game.
You say, all right, lads, get him a van.
He wasn't a scout. He used to say, all right, lads, play the game, not the occasion. I've taken that with me in everything I've done.
Is that your new life philosophy?
Not new. I've lived with that.
You've had it translated into Latin and put it on your family crest.
Yes. Do you remember the name of the brothers that played for Harchester
I haven't
United?
got a clue.
Okay, fine.
Grim?
Fake footballer facts. Barry Arse.
I'm sorry, I needed a bit of time just to get into that. I'm sorry, his name was...
Did you really just say that? Barry Arse.
It's the drugs.
Known in the dressing room.
How are you spelling arse?
A-R-S-S-E.
Ah, and how are you spelling Barry?
B-A-R-R.
I.
Okay. Barry Arse. Known in the dressing room as Harry.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, right.
That's very funny.
Born in a barn in Leatherhead in 1888, played outside left and inside half-back right for Halifax, Doncaster, Necaxa and Peterborough.
Okay, and now I do have a question.
All right, we normally save these till the end.
I mean, well, I forget to ask them at the end.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Those 4 clubs there, there was one that kind of jumped out as being like an odd one out.
I know what you're going to say, but when he went to Doncaster, it was only a loan spell.
Oh, right. Makes sense.
He was described by his first club's manager at Halifax, Jonathan Foote, as small, thin, tiny, barely visible, a thimble of a man, only useful as a bookmark. Arse would later describe his time playing under Foote as terrifying. Following an unpleasant career in professional football, he became a private businessman and sold sea monkeys to the Chechnyan circus, discovered polyurethane, and once famously tattooed the Duchess of Gloucester by accident. He was trying to tattoo the Earl of Warwick.
I hate it when that happens.
Yeah, it can be annoying. It can ruin a weekend.
It's a minefield.
You're there with the needle.
I
couldn't remember.
It sounds like Bruce Forsyth.
Too soon.
Jimmy Hill?
Too soon. Can you name someone that hasn't passed?
Carol Vorderman.
Okay, at time of recording.
At time of talking,
Thank you,
Carol Vorderman.
I'm going to ask you this question. What's your favourite celebration in football ever? You strike me as a man who loves
Well, thank you. You can just end that sentence there. I am, in fact, a man. A manly man.
Batty Goals machine gun. You strike me as a man who would enjoy that. Fjortos aeroplane.
I beg your pardon?
Bafferty Gomez's cat crawl. These are all things you like.
No. I like my celebrations to be understated. A simple nod in acknowledgement of perhaps whoever created the goal.
Maybe a shake of the hand?
Well, I mean, physical touching.
A gentle jaunt back to the centre circle?
Is that really necessary? Just a stroll back.
What about Shearer's one hand in the air? Would you allow that?
I mean,
World Cup final,
It was
let's
a
say.
little bit extravagant, but it's just about passable.
Okay.
It was better than Di Canio's one hand in the air.
That's very true.
Which was slightly
I'm glad you brought that up.
different.
So I threw this out on the socials, at HalStewart82 on Twitter, and Axel, one of our listeners in Denmark, says...
Can I just pull you up on the socials?
Yeah, I really wish I hadn't said that.
I mean, come on now.
I hate myself and I was instantly sick in my mouth. Axel in Denmark says, Brian Laudrup's celebration for the equaliser 2-2 against Brazil after the wonderful attempt by Soren Kolding to copy him has to be my favourite celebration of all time. Stuart in Catterick says, Fowler's nose snort along the white line. Did you enjoy that one?
It was a little crass,
It was. Jed says, John, Arna Risa, shirt over the head, knee slide, the classic.
I mean, it's just something that kids do.
Michael Hayden says, what about Gazza's dentist chair in Euro 96 after scoring against Scotland? That goal.
Uncouth.
And the final one, our good friend Alan McWilliam says, Klinsmann's classic dive.
Do you know what really bugs me?
What really grinds your gears?
Is when they introduce some kind of external paraphernalia.
Or like a prop.
Do you recall Facundo Sava and his, I believe it was a Batman mask or possibly a Spider-Man mask?
Yeah, and also Gutierrez.
Yes.
Jonas Gutierrez, when at Mallorca, used to do the Spider-Man celebration with the mask.
It's not for me.
It's a bit of fun. They keep it down the sock, you know.
We don't go to the football for fun.
You're right. It should be.
We go there for grinding misery.
Speaking of grinding misery, the Stadium of Light, Sunderland,
yes.
Which, of course, I think you witnessed your first live game against Grimsby.
I did. What a glamour tie that was.
It really was. Well, did you know that it's haunted?
Is it?
In April 2005, 2 backroom staff claimed to have seen an unusual black shape in a dimly lit corridor. Many argued that it was just another person walking by.
It was Peter Reid.
Could have been the Black Cat.
Oh, the famous Black Cat.
Of Sunderland.
Very well known, the city of Sunderland, for its Black Cat. It's one Black Cat.
But not long after that, Irish striker Stephen Elliott also reported having seen the mysterious image. And that sparked talks of the stadium being haunted by a spirit. Many believe the ghost to be that of an 18th century wrecker called Spotty, but nobody knows a reason as to why he was roaming around. In September 2006, some fans were watching Monday Night Football on Sky Sports when left stunned. They spotted a groundsman working on the pitch, but he literally disappeared into thin air seconds later. This footage is still available online, and I've seen it. It's hard to explain. Southampton
Yes.
moved to St Mary's in 2001, a stadium built for just £32 million. They moved from the only stadium formerly in the Premier League that had a chimney,
The Dell.
the Dell, after 103 years.
The famous singer-songwriter.
The Dell itself, you see, I'm not the only person on this podcast named after a computer. The Dell itself was not haunted. St Mary's.
Well, that's the end of that chapter.
St Mary's, a stadium more than doubling their capacity to 32,500. That stadium is built on the site that used to be a graveyard.
This has raised an interesting question. When they're calculating the attendance figures for matches, is it just the corporeal?
Those that are present.
Or does it also include the supernatural?
No, just those that are living and breathing.
I suppose they didn't buy tickets, did they?
It is said that the spirits of the people buried there were haunting the stadium when the Saints moved in. Do you remember the season they moved
When
in?
the Saints came marching
They
in.
did, yeah. 2001, good guess. A terrible start to the season saw relegation looking certain as they picked up just 10 points from their first 14 matches. That cost manager Stuart Gray his job after barely 6 months in charge. Rumours spread that spirits were taking their revenge for the excavation of the pre-Christian tombs at the place where the stadium was built. Now, the belief grew so strong that Southampton didn't start to pick up serious points until they called in an actual pagan white witch to rid the evil from the ground.
Wasn't there a similar story regarding St Andrews in Birmingham City?
Yes, and Barry Fry.
Barry Fry took it upon himself.
What word are you going to use?
In a
Micturated upon?
pissed all over the place. How about that?
In all four corners of St Andrews, Barry Fry decided, which I have to say, Adam, let's think about this logistically.
I feel like I know where you're going with
How
this.
difficult is that? Do you hold? Do you
I
do
mean,
a little
that's
bit
tough.
and then run? Because I when I've started my stream, it is a violent stream. It is a full affair. It's like a powerful horse. It could lift you off the ground. There's no way I'm stopping. Do you think he did it over the course of several days? Or do you think he trotted round, holding it in? Or maybe just carrying on with it free in the breeze, just sort of...
I feel like Barry Fry is a man of remarkable discipline.
You think he could hold it?
It'd be just like turning on and off a tap for him.
Fry's funnel. Good image. Time now for fantasy football. Adam, this is where you have the delightful... In fact, you'll be very pleased with this because we're at the end. The delightful opportunity to pick our final position, which, of course, now leaves us with...
Striker?
Striker!
Yay!
So you need to pick a striker. So
Ivan Klasnic.
Again, I give you three options to complete our team. Will your fantasy, Adam, be Jean-Claude Darcheville? He's purchased a wedding cake perched precariously on a lavender-scented, diamond-encrusted mouse mat. He's done his fingernails up special-like, and he's written your name on a romantic Etch-a-Sketch.
Ali Daei.
Now, I'll give you... Or will your fancy today be that of American pin-eyed pin-up Brian McBride?
Pin-eyed?
Have you seen his eyes?
Is that a thing?
They're very small.
Good Lord.
He's got small eyes. He's on a Harley-Davidson motorbike, wearing a leather jacket on his face, and yelling, "Yee-haw!" whilst cooking a hamburger on the back of another motorbike. The engine bit. Adam, he's not done there. He's put a boxing glove on a table lamp, and he's rubbing Vaseline on a precocious great-crested newt.
How do you know a great crested newt is precocious?
This one is so obvious.
Yeah, it just does. It stands out amongst all the other great crested newts.
You spot this one a mile away and you think, what a slut. Final offering, Tour Andre Flo. He's put his dumplings on a big ladder.
Oh, that's it. That was it.
We finished strong. So where are you going? Jean-Claude Darcheville, pin-eyed Brian McBride, or big laddered Tour Andre Flo? You'd need a big ladder for Tour Andre Flo. I mean, he is the size of a ladder anyway.
Well, aren't we all the size of a ladder?
Depends what size ladder.
Well, that's my point.
I see what you're doing there.
See, it's the philosophical questions.
I'm a sort of two-step.
I remember Jean-Claude Darcheville. He played for Nottingham Forest.
He did.
Briefly.
French.
Under Ron Atkinson in that gallant season where he spectacularly did not save them from relegation.
Spectacular season.
Currently, at time of speaking, their last season in the Premier League.
And I think Ron has now discovered the correct dugout. He was sat next to Nelson Vivas in the Arsenal dugout, I seem to recall.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
They did tell him eventually.
They did. Nelson was laughing away and, of course, had no command of the English language. Couldn't possibly tell him.
Just to give a little insight to the listener, it's currently about lunchtime as we are recording, so the prospect of a hamburger is pretty strong at this point. So it's got to be Old Pin Eyes himself,
Mm-hmm.
Brian McBride.
You have selected very strong, very well. Congratulations, Adam. That completes our Fantasy Football 11.
Do you ever have the fantasy of owning a football club?
Yes.
Well, for the princely sum of £8.75, I mean, this is a bit bittersweet because the opportunity has passed, but for that sum, you could have bought, and I'm going to give them their full title, so a pronunciation warning is in effect. Union Sportiva Città de Palermo, the Serie B leaders and former club of striking royalty of the likes of Edison Cavani, Paulo Dybala, and, of course, Kyle Lafferty, have been sold to a London-based company for the symbolic price of €10. It signals a new era at the Stadio Enzo Barbera, ending Maurizio Zamperini's 16-year spell in charge. A spell that saw the controversial owner dispense with, do you know how many managers?
I'll say 17.
In 16 years?
Yeah.
45.
Wow. Wow.
Regularly, they would go through 5 or 6 a season.
Some of them must have been rehired.
Yeah, I believe there is a rule in Italian football that if you have managed one Serie A club, you can then not manage another one until the next season.
And they're probably paying them anyway.
So they would kind of put in a caretaker, and then that wouldn't work out, and they're still paying the original guy, so he would come back in. It could be the same guy 3 times in a single season. That has been known.
Is it 45 different men that he's fired, or he's just fired a manager 45 times? It could be the same one.
45 managers.
Okay, that's impressive. Text from the original creators of the beautiful game has recently been discovered. As you probably know...
Text?
Text.
Oh, I thought you said an actual text.
No.
That would be very impressive.
Very impressive. From the grave. It was sent from St Mary's. As you probably know, football was invented in Scotland by the High Society, and I have another extract from a soon-to-be-published memoir of Sir Ebenezer Morley.
Oh, okay. He is my favourite of all the Morleys.
Never has a night been so dark, so bleak, so chilling. The winter's air was thick with fog. Sir Geoffrey of Nutwitch's horse and cart had just arrived. The stable hands were readied, and within moments a shivering Sir Geoffrey stood before me in the dining hall's archway. I gave him as warm an embrace as I could muster on such an eve. He was soaked from head to foot, but explained there was no time or a servant to run him a hot bath. I dismissed both chambermaids, and we retired through to the vestibule and the warmth of the drawing room. Sir Geoffrey unbuckled his satchel and handed me a sealed scroll. His look was grave. I hurriedly opened the unspoiled manuscript. What I held in my hand would change not only my life, but that of the townsfolk and villagers for miles around. I gasped. Sir Geoffrey looked away. A solitary tear rolled down his bearded cheek, just as I mustered the strength to utter a single word. In bounded young Henry of Hamilton. He ripped the sheet from my quivering hand and loudly bellowed, "Oh, thank pish! I've run out of snot rag for me face funnel. It's an avalanche of crunchy liquid phlegm up there. Crack on, chaps, ken what I mean? Right up here."
I mean, I can relate.
The mysterious player of mystery.
I hope you've been thinking.
I'd forgotten all about it. Let us hear the clubs again.
He started in France with Nantes, then moved to Italy with Sampdoria. He played for Real Madrid, then moved to England, the Premier League, with Middlesbrough. After that, it was a trip to Greece with Olympiacos, then Servette and Bastia of France. That is your mysterious player of mystery. Any ideas, or would you like the position?
I am going to need a position.
A midfielder.
A midfielder.
Yep, he could play in the centre or on the right. He had a very pretty wife at one point.
At one point.
At one point, yes. No longer together.
What a sad story.
A lot of hair.
A lot of hair.
Would you like the answer? Are you going to bow out on your first mysterious player of mystery?
Well, I feel like just because my brain isn't functioning because of all of
so
the...
this is going to have an asterisk next to it, right? From now
medication.
on. Yes, it might be 1-0 to Hal, but it was an asterisk next to it because I was ill.
Yeah, I was very, very ill.
Gravely ill.
I mean, I'm at death's door. It's a wonder I'm standing up.
Why did you buy a death's door?
Well, it was on sale.
Oh, fair enough.
Black Friday.
Ah.
You can't just let those bargains slide by. This is infuriating. Because I'm thinking of French players that play for Middlesbrough.
Played in the era
and
when we got into football.
I can think of French players that play for Middlesbrough, but none of them are the right French player. Like Christian Carambau.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Christian Carambau, one apiece!
Did he go from Middlesbrough to Real Madrid?
In 2006, Carambeau became a scout for Portsmouth. Did you know that?
I think I had read that.
Yeah, I thought it was quite interesting. He went from Real Madrid to Middlesbrough, and from Middlesbrough to Olympiacos.
Are you saying, in my head, I reversed the clubs? I'm in such a poor condition.
Yeah, this is what's happened.
I was trying to think of somebody that went from Middlesbrough to Real Madrid.
He's been strategic advisor of Olympiacos.
What does that mean?
No one knows. He's also part of a Paris-based consortium to expand the A-League
Ah.
with a Pacific Islands team.
I believe he is of Tahitian
That's right.
origin.
He actually won, of course, though, 53 caps for France. Do you know how
Yes.
many goals he scored for France?
53 caps. I don't remember him being prolific, so I am going to say 8.
1 goal.
Really?
And
Well, he
Carambeau.
really wasn't prolific.
No, not at all. He was the host of a French TV series called Des Îles et des Hommes. And Adam, you speak fluent French. You can translate that too.
Of Mice and Men.
It's very close. Of Islands and Men.
Oh,
Which aired on Channel Planet in 2010 and 2011. It was a travel programme, and Christian Carambeau visited 6 of the most beautiful islands with the most beautiful women in the world. What a gig.
He gets all the tough jobs, doesn't he?
Really difficult. So that's it. Well done, Christian Carambeau. Well done if you got that
There
at
was
home.
a little focus as well on his wife. Who was that?
He was married to this beautiful blonde woman
Yes.
for a number of years.
Did she have a name?
I can't remember.
Mrs. Carambeau.
They've got divorced and he's married someone else. I read about that and I thought that's not interesting enough for me to make a note of. I thought that might help you because he was often pictured with
He was
her.
married with a supermodel, was he?
Yeah,
not?
that's the blonde supermodel. Yeah.
I mean that's probably what you wanted to lead with, rather than just a beautiful woman.
You know, for me, the word super is not
Was it
necessary.
Linda Evangelista?
It might have been. These names, I remember football stuff.
I got a point.
It's Adam's History Corner. Would you like the very expensive jingle, or do you want me to do a little ditty? A little jingle.
I would like you to sing me in.
All right, here we go. Do you want to give me a little bit of a beat of some kind?
No.
Okay. History, it's a mystery. Not much else rhymes with history. Open up the door. There's the corner. Adam's in it. Get in it. The History Corner. Oh, really mucked that up.
That was
bad, wasn't it?
just very emotional. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the corner. Pull up a chair, take a seat, make yourself comfy, because I'm going to blow your mind once again. Actually, I'd probably not, to be honest.
Well, my mind was fairly blown last week. I like that one.
Well, you remember last week we had a little chat about a mysterious snowfall across Devon. In fact, the snowfall wasn't the mysterious part. It was the fact that when everybody emerged from their houses the next day, there were tracks in the snow, cloven hooved tracks, and people believed that it could well be the work of the devil.
But we found out that those hoof marks were actually from Robert Hooth.
Yes,
And
yes,
the
he
mystery
was
was
just
solved.
yes, 100 or so years ago, he was just traipsing across Devon.
Don't want to spoil the movie when it comes out, but that'll be the end.
And would you believe that would not be the first time that the devil walked among the Devonshire countryside? On Sunday, the 21st of October, 1638 AD, the Church of St Pancras, who I believe was the patron saint of train travel, in the village of Widdicombe in the Moor in Dartmoor, was reportedly struck by lightning during a severe storm, killing 4 and injuring another 60 of the 300 parishioners there present. According to eyewitness accounts of the time, there was a strange darkness, a powerful roar of thunder, and then a great ball of fire that ripped through a window and tore part of the roof off. George Lyde, the local priest, was unhurt, but his wife suffered nasty burns to her ruff.
Does that mean her bottom?
No, you know that weird thing people had around their collar?
Oh, the neck.
In the ye olde days?
Yeah,
that
a
sort of
ruff you'd wear around the neck. Yeah.
that big thing.
Right.
She burnt her ruff.
So she was okay.
Well, she had nasty burns to her ruff.
Yeah, but the ruff isn't part of
She
her.
must have been furious.
Okay. I mean, she hadn't been wearing it so long that it had become part of her. You know, like
No.
when a bike is next to a tree and then the tree grows and the bike then is lifted off the ground, it's part of the tree, you know?
That's a very specific example. There were slightly more serious incidents, such as the fate of local warrener Robert Mead, who smashed into a pillar so hard that his skull shattered and his brain fell out.
Why are you laughing at that?
It's just...
Actually one of the worst deaths anyone could imagine.
It'd be quick.
You don't know, it might have seeped out.
See, ooh, you made that disgusting.
Oh, yeah, you've
made the
Warren, you've got brain seepage. Someone get a cloth.
You've made the innocent
What?
act of somebody's skull shattering and their brain falling out nasty.
Vicar, we've got a leak. Hand me that ruff. Oh, it's all charred. This'll nae do.
What a flawless Devon accent you're producing there. And unusually, others in the church were said to have suffered burns to their bodies, but not their clothes.
Were they all naked?
Well, at least one of them was wearing a ruff.
Yeah.
According to the legend, the thunderstorm was a result of a visit by the devil himself, who had struck a deal with a local gambler called Jan Reynolds. According to the deal, if the devil ever found Reynolds asleep in a church, his soul was forfeit. And Jan was said to have nodded off in church that very day, with his playing cards in his hand. Consequently, the devil is said to have travelled to Widdicombe, but stopped at the Tavistock Inn in nearby Poundsgate for refreshment and directions.
Nice.
Because, you may be the Prince of Darkness. You're not like a human sat-nav.
No, you don't know the way.
Or even a devilish sat-nav. The landlady reported a visit by a man in black with cloven feet, riding a jet-black horse.
Oh, the horses.
The stranger ordered a mug of ale, which hissed as he drank it.
The ale hissed.
The heat, the infernal fires of hell.
Right. No, he wasn't drinking snakebite.
No. He finished it and placed the mug on the bar, leaving a scorch mark. He did leave money, so that's nice. But after he had ridden away, that money turned into a pile of dried leaves.
Oh, dear.
The devil rode to Widdicombe Church, snapped up the still sleeping Reynolds, and rode away into the storm. In fact, he flew away.
Did he
into the storm
fly?
on his black steed.
Well, the horse could fly.
It's a devilish horse.
Who flew? The devil or the horse?
The horse, with
Right.
the devil atop it, clutching young Reynolds as he flew away.
I mean, that must be very difficult. I've ridden a horse
Yes.
that wasn't flying.
But was it a jet black infernal steed?
No, but I'm just saying, holding another human underneath one arm whilst trying to stay atop, I think would be very difficult.
I feel like it would be difficult to get your cloven hooves into the stirrups.
Also, yes, you're right, and
Because
absolutely.
if you've got a flying horse, you're probably going to want stirrups.
You're going to definitely want stirrups.
Yeah.
I'd want a seatbelt. Did he have a seatbelt?
I don't believe so.
He just invented Scotch tape. Surely he could come up with a seatbelt.
I mean, he didn't even know where he was going, so I
No.
feel like there wasn't a lot of preparation.
Yeah,
when
he was
did this.
very lost.
As they flew over Birch Tor, the 4 aces from Reynolds' pack of cards fell to the ground. It is said, if you stand today at Warren House Inn, which is a remote pub in the middle of Dartmoor, you can still see 4 ancient field enclosures, each in the shape of a symbol from a pack of cards.
Well, can you?
I'm going to go with
Hang
yes.
on. Are you saying you haven't done your research?
I did not travel to Dartmoor
I mean, this is...
to stand in this particular point on the map and see the diamond, the heart, the club and the spade in these field enclosures. Don't be cynical. It
What?
definitely happens.
Right. Is that the only reason you didn't go? Is because you were ill?
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Okay. Well, I'm buying all of that. It feels like if you said to someone, look, you can have this bet with me, but if you ever fall asleep in a church, it's off. I feel like I'd be able to go along with that bet without any real concern.
You'd think you'd just make sure you stayed awake in a church.
Or just don't go to church. You're not
But,
going to fall asleep in a church.
This was a God-fearing age. This is the 1600s. You probably expected 300 people in that church. Would you make a deal with the devil?
Yes.
Straight in there, yes.
Yeah, probably would, yeah.
What would you demand in return?
Woolworths coming back.
I feel like these things always end quite badly.
For who, though?
Well, I mean, one moment you're just having a nap in church, the next you're being carried off on a flying horse.
Who says that's bad?
Well, it doesn't sound good.
I'd love to go on a flying horse.
I mean, what about poor old brain dude?
Warren?
Warren.
Was that his name?
No.
What was his name?
Robert Mead.
All right.
Why him? His brain fell out.
Yeah, no, I remember that.
I mean, that's going to take...
He won't.
I mean, medicine at the time.
I think that he was
I think there's
probably
only so far leeches will take you with that one.
So you're saying deal with the devil for your soul. It's a soft maybe?
It's a maybe.
Have a think about what you'd like. We'll see what we can do for next time. Do you want to throw a little inflection in where people least expect it? Just keep us on our toes.
And we'll see you at the beach.
Very nice.
How about
Well,
that?
If you'd had asked me where I thought the mystery inflection would go, it would have been there. But, still.